Hello and welcome to Prague. In today's evening video we'll have a walk from Prague Castle through the famous Nerudova Street. My name is Jan and I'll be your tour guide in today's evening episode of Prague Tour Guide. So let's check it out. So the Petřín observation tower was built in 1891 on a Jubilee Prague Industrial Exhibition Expo, and it's interesting that today there is just 130 years anniversary of this building. This little Eiffel Tower, what we have here, is actually the highest Eiffel Tower in the whole world. This one is actually 70 meters higher than the Eiffel Tower in Paris, but only because we're including the hill as well. So with the hill it's taller. So we'll go down through the beautiful Nerudova Street. This street is called Ke hradu, but soon we'll reach the famous Nerudova Street. As we walk down, we are passing under the beautiful Swarzenberg Palace, which is one of the most beautiful Prague palaces. As in Nerudova Street, we'll also see some beautiful buildings too. But what is the most magical about this walk is that you see the lamps, nobody around, old little houses of little quarter. We reached the top of the Nerudova Street, which was here since beginning of foundation the little quarter, which was founded in 1257 on the order of the Czech king Přemysl Otakar II. The street ended right here at the top, where used to be a gate back then. And today there is another street beginning called Uvos. And if you'll go this street, it will take you to the famous Straov Monastery. Here used to stand in the 13th century the gate, where today the street Uvos begins. And in 14th century Charles IV extended the little quarter much further to the Straov Monastery uphill. Anyway, we'll not be going uphill, but we're going downhill through the Nerudova Street. And I'll show you some interesting houses here. In most of the houses in Nerudova Street are beautiful house symbols which are preserved here since the medieval ages. So let's check out some of the most interesting of them. Here's, for example, a beautiful symbol of a white swan. So this used to be a house of a white swan. Well, still today is. The house symbols were usually referring to the profession of the house owners, or for example to the last name of the owners. My most favorite symbol on a house in Nerudova Street is House of a Green Lobster, or maybe it's House of a Green Crayfish, because in Czech Republic we don't have a seaside, so it's probably green crayfish. But how cool is it? It's like, where do you live? Oh, I live in a house of a green crayfish. Another nice symbol is House of a Red Lion, červené holva. And there are many other interesting symbols. Yeah, check out how the street is pretty with the lamps. Only if the cars would not be here, that would be something. This is an interesting building. It's called the Bretfeld Palace, built by Mr. Joseph from Bretfeld, who was a lawyer and professor at the Charles University. He built this building in the second half of the 18th century. And this guy, he was organizing cool parties. And what is interesting, some of his party members there was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart or Giacomo Casanova. So this was in 18th century center of the little quarter social life. In Nerudova Street we have a lot of beautiful houses with beautiful facades. Interesting is that in 1541 there was a huge fire which destroyed almost more than a half of buildings in this area. So on a Gothic houses, the houses were rebuilt then in a Renaissance style, and later on they put on them baroque and classicist facades. Here we have another symbols like House of a Golden Wheel, House of a Golden Eagle, or on this side, House of a Golden Key. You know, a lot of the houses in the Middle Ages were golden something, because golden means fancier. Yeah, and it sounds better, like House of a Golden Key, than, for example, House of Corroded or Grey Key. These days, there are not many residents living anymore in Little Quarter, as that many houses were turned into hotels, or many of the houses, flats, are Airbnbs. So you can see it on the windows that not that many of them have lights in it, which is quite sad that the area is losing locals. Do you know Czech pencils Kohinor? It's a Czech made pencil from 1799. It's actually the third world oldest company making pencils. They make them in a Czech town in south of Bohemia, České Budějovice. Kohinor. After the big fire in 1541, a lot of the houses were just burnt ruins, and noblemen from Czech or other countries took advantage of that. They bought the houses, tore them down mostly, and rebuilt them into luxury palaces. For example, this one, Kolovrat Palace of lords from Kolovrat, which is today an Italian embassy. So the noblemen from around Europe and Czech Kingdom, they raised the level of Little Quarter by their noble buildings. For example, check out the doorway with the two eagles, Kolovrat Palace. Many of the palaces were turned later into embassies in the 20th century. Another beautiful structure here is a Morzin Palace, which was founded in 18th century by Mr. Václav from Morzin, who inside of this building was running a private band, and one of the members of this band was the famous Antonio Vivaldi from Venice. So this is Morzin Palace today, Romanian embassy. Here we have some interesting symbols as well, like House of a Golden Grail or House of a Golden Hair, where, by the way, famous Czech architect Jan Blažej Santini was living. Today there is Hotel Santini, named after him. And here we have a little cute symbol of House of Three Violins. And in this little house was living 3 generations of a violin makers. A house of the 3 violins. In Czech language, it's called U tří housliček. Cute. And back to Santini, he's, by the way, an architect of those 2 beautiful palaces, the Morzin Palace and Kolovrat Palace. So guys, we reached the bottom of the Nerudova Street, and we are now at the top of the Little Quarter Square in the upper part of it. And behind me you can see the beautiful Baroque church of St. Nicholas, together with the former Jesuit college, but we'll show you that church in a different episode because now it's closed. So I'll show you when it's opened. So guys, this is the end of our evening walk through Nerudova Street. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you would like to book a tour with me or one of my colleagues, go to our website lucidtours.com, subscribe our channel, Prague Tour Guide, and we're looking forward for our next video with you on Prague Tour Guide. So take care, guys. Ciao.